Just to say, today is organised by the Janki Foundation. The Janki Foundation was set up to originally support a holistic hospital in India, and Daddy Janki, as the president of that, felt it was equally important for us to serve healthcare professionals in this country and abroad by helping them to understand the spiritual aspect of healthcare. And from that idea, the Values in Healthcare project was born. And today the workshops you're doing are part of that project, taken from that. And of course there's a lot of information downstairs in the seminar room, and so I'd encourage you to have a look at the pack, look at the display, and make yourself aware of what the Values in Healthcare pack is about. So this is a kind of taster plus a day of dialogue and talks and workshops for us all. So I'm going to start by inviting Professor Stephen Wright onto the stage. Stephen is someone who's very well known in this field. He has worked in spirituality and healthcare for decades, and yet I thought probably the most succinct introduction was when he told me last night, when you get into a London cab and the cabbie always asks, what do you do? And Stephen says, I'm a reverend, I'm a nurse, and I'm a journalist. And they look completely confused because they don't know which banter to start. So I thought it'd be nice maybe if, Steve, you also tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to this point in your journey, because it's certainly an interesting one. So if you could weave a little bit of that in, that would be lovely too, because I think as a nurse you've clearly understood what burnout means, what the stresses that people in the profession are under, and you have your own thoughts about what that's about. So I think we're about to hear about that. Steve will share those with us. So would you like to come onto the stage? And I'll join you again when he's finished.
You are beautiful, deep in your being. You have vision in your seeing. You are fine, you are whole, you have music in your soul. journey, you carry all you need. You are you. You are the gold of ripened corn. You're like a baby newly born. You are you. Thank you.
Thank you, Lou, very, very much. I'm Sarah Eager, and I'm your kind of caretaker for the day. And we really hope you have an enjoyable day, and it's enjoyable for everyone who's been involved. It's been a real labour of cooperation, or not even labour, it's been a lovely cooperative effort. And we hope that by the time you've heard Steve Wright, you've done a workshop and thought about how you take care of yourself, and then we have Daddy Janky in the afternoon. By the time you leave today, you should be floating on air and really have had an enjoyable day. And I think I'd really like to thank Lou. Lou is a very interesting soul. She's a nurse and a music therapist, a healer, a voice facilitator, an artist. And if you look at her website, you'll also get a lot of information. And Lou's going to serenade us throughout the day at various points, which will help keep up our spirits and tune us into other levels. So thank you, Lou, for that. As we're running a little late, I'm not going to chatter on too much. There are quite a lot of announcements, but I thought I'll do them before you go to the workshops, because they'll be more meaningful then. Just to say, today is organised by the Janky Foundation. The Janky Foundation was set up to originally support a holistic hospital in India, and Daddy Janky, as the president of that, felt it was equally important for us to serve healthcare professionals in this country and abroad by helping them to understand the spiritual aspect of healthcare. And from that idea, the Values in Healthcare project was born. And today, the workshops you're doing are part of that project, taken from that. And of course, there's a lot of information downstairs in the seminar room. And so I'd encourage you to have a look at the pack, look at the display, and make yourself aware of what the Values in Healthcare pack is about. So this is a kind of taster plus a day of dialogue and talks and workshops for us all. So I'm going to start by inviting Professor Stephen Wright onto the stage. Stephen is someone who's very well known in this field. He has worked in spirituality and healthcare for decades. And yet I thought probably the most succinct introduction was when he told me last night, when you get into a London cab and the cabbie always asks, what do you do? And Stephen says, I'm a reverend, I'm a nurse, and I'm a journalist. And they look completely confused because they don't know which banter to start. So I thought it'd be nice maybe if, Steve, you also tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to this point in your journey, because it's certainly an interesting one. So if you could weave a little bit of that in, that would be lovely too, because I think as a nurse you've clearly understood what burnout means, what the stresses that people in the profession are under, and you have your own thoughts about what that's about. So I think we're about to hear about that. Steve will share those with us. So would you like to come onto the stage? And I'll join you again when he's finished. Okay.
Morning, everybody. Before I get into the theory, let me just begin by inviting you to participate in something. And I'm reflecting just for a moment on my own journey here and a phrase from Jesus when he said, "Love your neighbor as yourself." I was brought up in the Christian tradition, and working as a nurse, I learned and practiced the first part reasonably well. I didn't pay too much attention to the second part. Love your neighbor as yourself. Taking care of yourself isn't a theory, it's a practice. So what I'd like us to begin with is a little bit of practice. I'm going to invite you to join me in a short reflection, meditation, contemplation. For those of you, we have a very mixed audience here today. For those of you who are not used to that kind of stuff, this is nothing flaky, it's not religion specific, and you're not required to remove any items of clothing yet. So please just make yourselves comfortable. This will only take a few minutes. If you're comfortable with your eyes closed, you may do so now. If not, then just look downwards or let your eyes go out of focus. And just breathe deeply and feel your way into that seat. And feel the ground beneath you. And we'll start outside and move inwards. Just become aware of the environment around you. Listen to it. Feel it. Smell it. Slight changes in the air around you of temperature. Coolness and warmth of the room. The background sounds. The heating and the sound system. Distant traffic. Smell the room. Move a little inward now into your body and feel yourself sitting in the chair. Ground beneath your feet. And contact of clothing with your body. Inwards a little more deeply. Feel your breathing. Just feel the rise and fall of your chest. Movement of your tummy, the air coming and going through mouth and nose. Just feel the breath coming and going. Inwards, further inwards. Bring your attention, either by feeling it physically, or in your imagination, or your feelings, into the very center of your body, roughly at the point where the heart is. Breathe and feel your way into the very center of your being. We know there is flesh and bone there, the beating of the heart. Feel it. But after a while, begin to let that impression and imagery pass. Begin to imagine or feel that the very center of the body, where your heart is open and spacious. And as you breathe in, allow that very center of your being, of the heart, to become ever more open and spacious and light. So you breathe in openness, spaciousness, expansiveness. As you breathe out, let go of any tightness or darkness or constriction or holding. Not forcing it, not trying to make it happen. This is not concentration. This is not effort. just with each inward breath, allowing yourself to become ever more open and more spacious, more aware of the center of yourself. With each out-breath, letting go of any restriction or holding or tightness. And if it doesn't go easily, don't force it, don't make it happen. Just simply be aware of it. Pay attention. Notice gently. Breathing in, open, spacious, expansive, light. Breathe off restriction, tightness, holding. Now take a deep breath, a nice, big, deep, stretching breath. Let the imagery and impressions or whatever experience you've had, let them pass. And as you breathe easily, feel your breathing once more. The rise and fall of your chest and the movement of your tummy. The air coming and going through mouth and nose. Feel yourself in the seat once more, very physical, very solid, very present. The ground beneath your feet, the contact of clothing with skin. Keep breathing steadily. Breathe your way back into the room, feel it once more, smell it, listen to it, become aware of it. And then very slowly, without hurrying, take your time. Allow your eyes and your attention to return to the room. I trust that some, if not all of you, especially if you're not used to any form of meditation or relaxation exercises, found that easeful, pleasant, comforting. Some of you, I noticed, were pretty close to sleep in that, which is a profound spiritual sign. It means you're tired. Imagine those of you who work like I do in the caring services, still in the mainstream NHS. Imagine beginning each shift or work pattern with that kind of feeling, beginning that with your colleagues. Within the mainstream system, that's still relatively rare. But I want to spend a bit of time this morning exploring some of those dimensions. I'm not sure how to take it this morning. I'm very comfortable to just let things go as they go. But I thought, on those moments when I think I'm reasonably in control of anything at all, what I thought I would do would begin by a few moments of introductory comments and some readings. And then what I would really like us to do, if bearing in mind it's a very large auditorium and a lot of people here, is to have some kind of dialogue, so that will inform us what kind of work we might do in the groups later on. The theme of taking care of yourself. The question arises, of course, as to who the self is. Who sits before you now? A greying, hairy, late middle-aged, rather attractive Englishman. A nurse came to stay with me last week and said, "I'm burning out, Steve." I said, "Good." And we went through her pain and her distress. And what we began to explore was the possibility that what was burning, her immediate reaction was, I want this to stop. I want the pain to go away. And after a little bit of work, she realized that the best thing she could do, in the words of Hafiz, the Persian mystic, was, don't stop the burning, pour on more oil. Pour on more oil. So we spent a few days pouring on the oil. And she came to be aware that the self that was burning, the burnout that she was in, was her old self that she was attached to, that she lived within the world, or the labels she had of herself. And as she began to talk about herself, we began to ask questions like, how do you know this? Who knows this self? And she began to be aware that there was some dimension of her that was watching all this taking place. She said when she first came, I don't know what brought me here. I just picked up the phone and knew I had to be here. It felt like a possession. A possession. And she was possessed. Something had taken a grip on her, and I brought her to a place when she said, everything in who I think I am would never allow me to come and sit with a weird person like you and talk about these kind of things. And yet I don't understand why I'm here. Something brought me here. And I thought that was very profound. Let me begin by reading something to explore that. My kind of subtext or sub-theme for the morning is the wasteland. The wasteland. The wasteland is what huge numbers of people, all of us, experience in our everyday interactions in the world. I'm taking the theme of the wasteland from early Romano-Celtic spirituality, mythology. Some of you may be aware that when the Romans packed up and went back to Rome from this country 1600 years ago, they left a country that spent the next 3 centuries lapsing into tribalism and lawlessness, a time when very little was recorded about what's happening in that history. And so it became known as the Dark Ages. And for those of you who now are thinking, I've come into the wrong lecture, this is the one on history and sociology, and I really wanted to know about healthcare, bear with me, I'm getting there. At that time, there was a king called Amagorns. And there was a Celtic tradition of a number of sacred wells guarded by virgins, the servants of God, and that these wells and these sacred sites were available to any traveller, anyone passing through. Amagorns went to one of these sacred sites, drank of the waters, but raped and violated the Virgin. As a result, all around him began to collapse into disorder. Harvests failed. Frosts and snow stalked the land beyond their normal season. People suffered and were diseased and died. On the scene following his death came King Arthur and his Knights of the Round Table. And the search for the Holy Grail is symbolic of the resolution and the restoration that was to take place, because the land that was laid waste could only be made whole again once integrity, soul, spirit was restored. And so the Arthurian legend is about the search for that Holy Grail, to bring spirit, justice back into the realm. Anyone like me who's worked in our modern health and social and caring services would not have a problem in recognizing sometimes at work there is that sense of the wasteland, where people feel disconnected from each other. Things don't seem to work. We connect with patients, and in the words of Ram Dass, we constantly just miss. Things don't quite happen right. Misunderstandings arise. Things go wrong. Colleagues abuse us and misuse us. The system never gives us enough of what we need to do the work we have to do. Let me read a little about why that might be happening. This is taken from a really splendid piece of literature, which is my next editorial in the journal, Spirituality and Health. And I'm relating it onto a recent experience on a visit to Glasgow. In a Glasgow hotel, which I went to, you can go to the soul therapies room. Here a sign says you're welcome to a peaceful haven within the heart of the city. Switch off, kick back, and enjoy the wide treatments and therapies on offer. And you can kick back into Reiki, facial massage, or a mineral salt scrub, then have a fake bake in the tanning machine and get a bikini wax or a manicure. In a popular newspaper, there's a section called Spirit, where there's advice on home decor and lifestyles. There's a company called Spiritual High selling drugs to the post-rave culture. A magazine column advertises soulmates, where specifications of personality traits, smoking habits, diet, and preferences invite the perfect partner. Just about every city has its alternative therapies free paper selling the wares of the healing armies. San Francisco has one called Common Ground with 150 pages and 1,000 ads and a menu of everything from hypnotherapy sessions to provide you help with your inner child, to spiritual breakthroughs via intuitive coaching to find your soulmate or find your true spiritual self at $75 an hour. Our culture has successfully dumbed down one of the most profound concepts that human beings have ever come up with, the possibility of soul. A meaning-light, money-making, feeding frenzy has been engendered in the popular use of soul, usually referring to little more than the tickling of the ego's pleasure centers, the bathing of the personhood in candy floss comforts. Western capitalist civilization has thus emptied our language and indeed our everyday consciousness of the depth and significance of the very essence of what it is to be human. Reduced to our personhoods, who I am becomes the plaything of multiple attachments to countless roles and identities and functions. I am is what I do, what I earn, how I look. And growing in the same fertile ground are new therapies arising by the day, with old ones resold, restyled, repackaged, all planted and raised for the market hall of the personhood in its endlessly shifting garb and restless hunger, demanding ever more food to keep it feeling good, more therapies to shore up its ever-crumbling boundaries, more sweet, fluffy, feel-good trinkets just to keep going. Some of us live and die like this. Some wake up and spontaneously and know it doesn't have to be like this. Some, like myself, crash and burn when they can no longer take it. At the age of 40 for me, my soul punched through, or maybe my ego personhood power imploded to allow it to escape. Whichever, life can never be the same again for those thus transformed into this unknown landscape, the landscape that has moved away from the wasteland. The soul now emerges and sees the wasteland for the country it once inhabited. Our culture, now deeply rooted in the possibility that human beings can be happy and healthy with ever more scientific advances, material comforts, designer bodies, designer babies, becomes a sweet shop of transient comforts where the language of soul and spirit and the depth and potential that it offers is lost in the superficial, the seductive, and the short term. That people cannot ultimately be satisfied with these ephemera, that the insatiable desires of the personhood are exhausting, is demonstrated in the filled waiting rooms of 1 million therapists, healers, and counselors. But to find the true and the deep, the person may pass through many distractions and false paths along the way. Sometimes, to find the charming prince, you have to kiss an awful lot of frogs. The scientific agenda, meanwhile, drives modern healthcare, is married in unholy alliance to the distant cousin of rationality, in the church of objectivity, and in the city of non-judgmentalism, in studious efforts to keep religion and spirituality and their downsides and uncertainties out of health. A whole swathe of the human experience has been dumped. In becoming soulless, modern healthcare worships at 1,000 different altars, all of which may partly attend to the needs of the person, but none of which fulfill and none of which permit the person to draw upon their spiritual and soul resources in time of need. The loss of soul, this emptiness of so much of our orthodox healthcare system, is in part driving the search, consciously or unconsciously, for alternatives to satisfy the deep hunger which at some level every human being feels. The loss of soul is the biggest single omission of modern healthcare, which catalyses the ever-increasing dropout rates, both patients and staff, dissatisfactions and costs that are pushing many of these systems, like the British NHS, to the edge. Indeed, it's not just healthcare, but at every level of society we see the disaffection and a disconnection that no amount of material gains or cultural distractions can fill. The environment, politics, religion, relationships, every aspect of the human experience and the world we inhabit is diminished when soul is left out. There's a huge amount of evidence to suggest that patients, users, those being cared for, while the system kind of deals with things to a certain degree, and I want to be clear, I'm not suggesting soul or science. It's not either or, but and. If I pop an artery today and have to be taken into the West Middlesex, I really want doctors and nurses who know how to fix me and do the right drugs and put the tubes in the right place. But I also know that will help and heal me is the human connection from and with a carer who can truly be with me. But they can only be with me when they are comfortable being with themselves. Huge numbers of carers, according to the evidence, are at or close to a state of burnout. Depending on the studies you read, anything between 1/5 and 1/2 of all nurses, doctors, social workers, teachers, physiotherapists, and so on, primarily those in the caring professions, are so restricted by the stress and difficult lessons at levels that they endure as to render them dysfunctional in their work. Well, if we take the worst case scenario of one study suggesting 4/5 of nurses and doctors are operating with this kind of stuff, and I experience 5 nurses on a shift, it's a little bit worrying to think nurse A, B, C, and D are so strung out with the stuff that's going on with them. How do I identify nurse E who's really going to be okay with me? Is this clear so far? Is this okay? It's not all dark, of course. And the wonder of it is that huge numbers of carers, in spite of the system, and in spite of their own often unrecognized difficulties, do tick through things day after day and night after night, such that, regardless of the difficulties, if we look at the evidence, huge numbers of people appear to be reasonably satisfied with the care that they get from our various services. But it's done so at a price. And now I want to focus particularly on that price that the staff might be paying. Let me talk a little bit about burnout, and I've mentioned words like spirituality so far. I need to define a term. One of the reasons that there has been a reluctance, although it is changing, to address matters of soul and spirit within our mainstream services, is the fear of introducing religious proselytizing or judgmentalism. When I use the word spirituality, I refer to that search for meaning, purpose, and connection in the world. That search for the answers to those questions: who am I? Why am I here? What am I supposed to be doing? Where am I going with all this stuff? Religions, to a large degree, provide ready-made answers to those questions. But not everybody chooses to seek those answers or express their meaning, purpose, and connection through some formalized system or structure that has the dogma and the processes and the liturgy and so on. So on that basis, when I speak of spirituality, everybody is spiritual. Everybody seeks meaning, purpose, and connection, but not everybody is religious. Not everybody seeks to channel that search or those connections or those ways of being in the world through some kind of organized structure. Is that clear about the difference between the two? And that allows, for example, in our mainstream system, which has some wariness of religious input, to begin to work a little more easily with concepts like spirituality and meaning. A few months ago, someone who was a manager in a social services department came into our retreat facilities in Cumbria. We have 2 sites, predominantly used by carers, but people from industry and other walks of life do come along. I can usually tell when a company's in trouble because large numbers of staff start turning up from that particular company. There's an over-egg proportion anyway. My advice to you at the moment, this is probably legal to do this, if you've got shares in BT, I'd sell them. But people turn up. And it's a common experience that the reason why people have turned up is not the real reason why they think they're there. And a large part of the work is to help people to be clear about that reason using a variety of processes. We have the Enneagram, we have labyrinth walking, we have healing techniques like therapeutic touch, we teach meditation, prayer. In other words, we draw upon that person's own spiritual resources to find out what's really going on. In Cumbria, where I live, there are countless outward bound places. Those who come to the Sacred Space Foundation are inward bound. At some level, they know there has to be a different way. And a common one would be Pat, who wouldn't mind me using her name, who is a very senior manager. And she had given 30-odd years of her life to social services and was a committed and active carer. She'd done a huge amount of work, particularly in the field of child protection, but was greatly valued in her locality. But there'd been some reorganisation or something had been going on and funds were limited and there was a new chief executive and things were going to be different. And in effect, she was told that she was no longer needed. She was going to be made redundant. I think the exact words were something like, there had been some reconceptualising of the social services framework, which means we don't have a place for you, Pat. And she was invited to apply for what in effect was her own job under a different name and slightly embellished and with a bigger role and more work. And life fell apart for her. And she gave a curious phrase when she arrived. She says, "I've been a social worker all my working life. I don't know who I am if this is taken away from me. I don't know what I'll do." Do you see the trap? You see that connection? That by becoming so fully identified with who I think I am, Descartes said, cogito ergo sum, I think, therefore I am. I feel he was deeply wrong. Deeply wrong. Who we think we are is not who we are. And while we invest vast amounts of energy in maintaining those roles, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying we shouldn't have egos or egos are bad things. They're jolly useful things for paying the bills, meeting people, going to the pub, getting on a bus, and so on and so forth. They're jolly useful things, providing they're not in charge. And most of us go through a long phase in our life of individuating when we become who we think we are, and that's absolutely fine, it's perfectly normal. But sometime, sooner or later, we may begin to see that may not be true. And for large numbers of people, particularly in the caring services, that often happens not voluntarily, but by crashing and burning. So in Pat's instance, to be told you are no longer required was to fundamentally attack her own reason for her existence in the world. She had no other resources to draw upon. And our work with her was to help her find those resources. They're there, but they're just a question of finding them. And it doesn't mean you have to get happy-clappy and find God or take off your clothes and run naked around the fields of Cumbria, though you can do that if you want to. But it is about helping people to connect more deeply with each other, with themselves. And as a result of which the person then may find, as in Pat's case, she went back into social work, but she did not go back. Something in her had changed where she was able to go back within the system and continue working, probably I suspect more effectively than for a very long time, because she was no longer hooked on being a social worker. And she said a curious thing when she left. I can't remember the exact how the discussion arose, but she said two things. First of all, she said, I used to think I was a social worker, and now I know I'm not. And she said, that makes me feel free. For the first time in many, many decades, I feel free. And knowing the answer to the question, I asked, nevertheless, slightly hopefully, well, who are you then? And she said, I just am. I just am. And curiously enough, almost all the great faiths, one of the essences of their work is to help more people to be at that point. Because when we live in the I am, then we can be fully present for others who we need and not get caught up in their dramas. When we live in the I am, I don't get caught up in the great drama of the system and all the difficulties and challenges it brings. I don't get caught up in superhood, trying to change everything and make it all right. I don't get caught up in victimhood, blaming the system or my husband or the children or the dog constantly for all the woes in my life. When I begin to live in the I am, I can begin to see a way of being in the world that sets me free from all those limitations. Because the soul is always free and infinite and can never burn out. But the process is a painful one. I don't know, do you have pen and paper handy? Could I ask you, invite you to answer a few simple questions. Am I okay for time, Sarah? Let me just quote you a few phrases while you find a piece of paper to answer a couple of questions with me. These are themes about burnout and about the extremes of stress. The challenge for burnout is to treat it for what it is, a spiritual crisis. Work pressures have a lot to do with it, and while not denying that these are legitimate problems to be addressed, these are often the agent provocateur rather than the root causes. Burnout is the desperate cry of the soul to break free, to be true to itself in the world and no longer defined by objective criteria. It's the climactic and exhausting struggle for work and relationships that have heartfelt meaning and joy. When we're in burnout, we experience what in Francis Vaughan is called spiritual aridity. Look at that word, aridity, the wasteland. I begin to see the world as an arid place. I feel arid inside myself, wasted, dried out. This is what happens when the energy we are investing in trying to keep things normal, to keep control of our lives, to keep things the same, demands more and more from us. As the energy needed to keep things stable increases, we become increasingly depleted, exhausted, and heartsick with the effort. The levels of fear, panic, pain, and distress in our lives in this state are often unprecedented. Let me just turn for a brief moment to some poetry to describe the experience of burnout. A shadow fell here, like a dark swallow skimming over an inverse lake, like the black fog of a burning oil field, bitter, acrid, enveloping this, my small, infrequent world. In the terror of the uncreation, the darkness unbound beckoned. Come, come. And I took off like a flame-bound moth, plunging, reckless, into that dark night. There was no escape. The shadow, waiting at the edge of the flame, the unknown shifting margin where light and dark, vying for authority, surrender in truce to you, you, who holds both light and dark in your perfect, undimmed thought. I'm just going to extract a few questions from the kind of processes we go through with people to explore their working relationships, their own levels of burnout and so on. There are many, many questions, over 90. I'm just going to ask you a dozen or so. And the questions all have a yes or no response to them. If it's a maybe, the answer is no. And please don't be alarmed, this is not a PhD thesis. Those of you like me who grew up in a council estate where your mum's dream of the week was woman's home and woman's realm, and you read those little quizzes at the end that told you whether or not you were a good housewife or a good cook, and they're a bit like that. It's fairly superficial, but there is some depth. There are some, if you be alert, there are clues behind them. Rather than acting a whole lot, this is just about you personally. Answer the following question. Do you get a good night's sleep? Do you eat a healthy, well-balanced diet? These are all yes or no. Do you take plenty of exercise? Do you talk through problems at work with your partner or close friend? Would you say yes or no to the statement that work does not interfere with my personal time? Other people's problems I can withdraw appropriately if a situation at work gets too stressful. I have a day a month when I do exactly as I please. This is a long one, so listen carefully. I allow myself a good read or something similar every day for at least half an hour that takes all of my attention and is nothing to do with work. I have a half an hour of me time with something like a good book that's nothing to do with work and completely absorbs me. I make sure I get my proper breaks for meals and refreshments at work. I know my limits and boundaries and keep to them. That's part of a fairly extensive survey. Just total up your yeses and your nos. Some of that is based on a work by a guy called Frank Ashton, who was a psychotherapist working in the health service with me a few years ago, when we began to bring nurses and doctors and other therapists together to explore their stress and their ability to take care levels. If you reverse all those questions, then some of the answers about taking care of ourselves are there. And if we look at what goes on in some settings, the Foundation's had a number of projects with some NHS trusts. One currently with the chief executive who said, I'm really glad you're doing this work, but don't tell people out there what you're doing, will you? And we've already held 2 meetings in one particular ward where the nurses and doctors will gather before they begin their shift, and we have a 5-minute meditation together. And we debrief before people start work. And at the end of the shift, there's a 5-minute debrief, not about how the patients are. How are you? What stuff are you taking away with you? What time do you need to offload it before you go home? And so, there are a few trusts around the country who for some reason seem to be too willing to make a song and dance about it yet, who have introduced, for example, in one setting, a meditation and quiet room, training sessions in meditation, training sessions in Tai Chi, examining anti-bullying policies and so on and so forth. So there are some places that are doing the work, but I suspect it will not be fully public until somebody in government makes it a target. And then it will all go terribly wrong. Because somebody somewhere will be ticking the box, yes, we've got a sanctuary meditation room for our staff, therefore we have sorted it. There are many layers of response to this problem at a team level, at an organizational level, and what I'm focusing on right now is the personal level, because I work on the presumption that form follows consciousness. Form follows consciousness. And if we can shift, transform the consciousness of those who work in caring roles to be different in the world, to be more fully present, then what will happen is the work will change. What we tend to do at the moment in our current health and social and educational services is we find a problem, so what we do is let's try and fix the problem, let's change the system, usually by getting rid of somebody who can't do it properly, or we introduce a new committee, or we restructure, or da-da-da-da-da-da. My argument would be, and I'm willing to be tested on this today, is that that's a redundant red herring. It's seductive. It sounds easy to get rid of the problem member of the staff or introduce aromatherapy sessions. But what it does not do is fundamentally assist in the transformation of the people who are doing the work. And that if we assist people to be more in right relationship with themselves and that which is beyond themselves, however they experience it, however we experience it, if we can then help people to be more in right relationship with their teams and with their organization. And that fundamentally is the opposite way in which our culture at the moment largely ticks. But I do believe strongly that if people are in right relationship with themselves, each other, and that which lies beyond the self, no matter what system you have, it will work. You're probably sitting on the edge of the seat wondering, how did you pass the test on those 12 questions? If you got 6 yeses or less, the chances are, bearing in mind this is just superficial, there's a lot more, but if you got 6 yeses or less, you're probably at or very close to burnout. Certainly you're experiencing extremes of stress. You may be thinking you're okay, but you're not, or you've given the right answers. And I'll book you a place later today. If you score between 7 and 11, you appear to be taking care of yourself, but it may well be that you're in denial and just given the right answers. You see, you can't win on this one. If you got 12, you're just lying. I acknowledge that this kind of religious, spiritual exploration is tricky, and suddenly it reminds me of a story of an atheist who is walking through the forest one day, and he hears crashing in the undergrowth off to his left, and a gigantic bear comes hurtling through the trees at him. The atheist's immediate response is to panic and run, and he hurtles himself through the trees, out through a clearing, faster and faster and faster, his breathing increasing, his heart rate increasing, and he crashes and falls over a log. And within seconds, the bear is on top of him an almighty creature, pressing him down with one paw and raising a paw to strike him. At that point, the atheist cries out, "Oh my God!" The wind stops. Everything becomes invisible. The trees are silent. Nothing moves. The bear sits stone-like upon his chest. And a voice cries out, "You deny me all these years, and you expect me to help you now?" The atheist thinks for a moment. I agree. It would be quite wrong of me to expect you to help me now, but perhaps you could make the bear a Christian. There's a long, eternal pause as God thinks, and a voice booms out from the silence and says, "Very well." The trees begin to move in the wind again. The water runs, the clouds appear once more in the sky, and the bear raises its paw even higher above the man as it sits upon his chest. And with a look of relief upon his face, the man looks up and sees the bear raise its other paw, as if in a gesture of prayer. And the bear says, "Lord, for what we are about to receive." I don't know where that came from. Is that relevant? Yes. It expresses something of the trickiness, but also the fun in the spiritual exploration, that we don't have to be put off by the fears of the risks of religiosity, which can also bring benefits. And that dance between the spiritual and religion is a great challenge for us in the caring services, collectively and individually. The collective expresses the individual. I want to say one last thing about this sense of stress and what have you. We can go through all kinds of practices to take care of ourselves. We can take up meditation. There are 4 key areas. And I think, as far as I know, this little booklet is being made available to you all as delegates. And if not, then I'll happily supply you one. It's provided by Nursing Standard, free of charge. It kind of summarizes stress and burnout and how to respond to it in the way I've described. If you're not sure where I am, the brochures will have my website available. Oh, I was at a party recently where somebody introduced me to a potential writer for the journal that I edit. And I spent a long time conversing with this man who had he'd done a huge amount of erudite work in his field in spirituality and young people. And I was so impressed with his work, and at the end of the conversation, he said, "Oh, I've got to go, I've got to whiz off, my taxi's here." And I said, "Oh, I don't, you haven't given me your contact address, I need to follow this up." He said, and he just waved his hands, "Oh, don't worry, Google me." And I was really impressed that, just Google me. And I've tried that at parties, and it's a real conversation stopper. Just Google me. So if any of you need to get a copy of this booklet, it is free of charge, just Google me. You'll find the Sacred Space Foundation website is relatively available. There are 4 key areas that I would like you to consider in your exploration today, and they are the 4 soul elements. If we want to emphasize more soul, leaving aside the exploration of what soul is, we could spend a whole day's workshop on. Let me see if I can get this right. There are 4 common threads that appear to work and keep us safe in soul exploration, help us to develop right relationship within ourselves and others. The first is the soul community. How can I transform my working team to a soul community, a community of people that is more connected meaningfully with each other, more present with each other, more trusting, more honest, more integrous with each other, more authentic? It can be done. There are many places around the country, many sites individually, sometimes within and sometimes outside the mainstream services. I'm thinking of the Bristol Cancer Help Centre, the Glasgow Homeopathic Hospital, that are overtly paying attention to building a soul community by the practices and policies they have that help to connect people and encourage people to connect to themselves. How do we build a soul community in the workplaces? Organizations like the Janki Foundation, as I beautifully experienced these past few days, is an example of a soul community. How does that reach out? And I'm looking forward to a multi-billion-pound Yankee Foundation project when it will set up a pilot hospital and social services department in the UK, free of charge to all, that will really say this is how to do it. Watch this space. I bought a lottery ticket tonight, Sarah, so with luck. The second area is soul works. What things do I do individually and with my colleagues that help to connect me to my true self? Meditation, Tai Chi, walking in nature, cooking. My relationships. People come to me in retreat and say, oh, I'm not like you, Steve, I don't meditate, I have no spiritual practice. I say, you're married, you've got kids, you've got a job, you've got spiritual practice. Every one of those, everything we do in our lives, if we approach it consciously, is spiritual practice. So often it's a question of not doing what we do differently, but changing the consciousness around it differently. Yeah? I have grandchildren now. They're a great soul work. You can spoil them rotten, do all kinds of things, and be silly and childish with them. I think it was Freud who said, or was it Jung, why do grandparents and grandchildren get on so well together? It's because they have a common enemy. Yeah, my children are my soul work. So not excluding anything from that soul work. It isn't just the obvious things like prayer or meditation or that. Soul communities, soul work. Soul words. Things that inspire us. Scripture, poetry, and extend that to music and the arts. Things that fill our lives with, help us to express. Almost of you read a book or you see a painting or you're in a particular place, and suddenly it takes your breath away. You feel it deeply. Bringing more things into that life that feed us, inspire us, bring the spirit in. And lastly, from the Gaelic, find your Anam Chiara, your soul friends. People, mentors, tutors, teachers, guides, teachers. People who come into your life and out of your life from time to time, and sometimes you stay with all your life. I have the people in my life, some close to me now, some who I've not seen for some. One of my greatest teachers was the man I spent a lot of time with called Ram Dass. People who are your soul friends, people who nurture and encourage and open you and help you along the way, people who've walked the path before you and know its joys and its pitfalls. Having those four things in place, those four columns, if you like, is a firm basis on which to stand in the exploration of soul. It's not something that should be done lightly. So with that, I'll conclude now. And then Lou, perhaps you might want to come on and just go straight into the song. I trust that's all been reasonably clear and that you have some ideas to feed into the day. If not, just Google me. I'm really impressed by that, aren't you? Oh, it's a lovely line. What a cracker. If I can find it. I'll finish off with something slightly poetic. So you might want to just finish, as we began, with a reflection. Just let this wash over you or through you or ignore it, as is your preference. It expresses something about that search for soul, what I call home. And the struggle that we have in trying to capture and stay with it. The Sufis have a beautiful prayer, which is, Allah, help me to remember until I forget to forget. As we work through life, we're constantly falling backwards, falling into forgetfulness, beginning to think that who I think I am is who I truly am. And our spiritual practice, our soul friends, our soul communities, and soul work, they're all there to help us to remember. Until, inshallah, we may get to a point where we no longer forget. I'm working on it. It doesn't happen to me very often now, only about 45 minutes out of every 46. This is themed on, the title is It Wasn't What I Came For. You said home. I drank the booze of hospitality in a stranger's house. You said, awake. I slept on the hard mattress of my loneliness. You said, pray. I bowed low in the temple of despair. You said, dream. I wove nightmares from threads of steel. You said, light. I snuffed out candles on the altar of my desires. You said, love. I hunted bodies under dark lamps. You said, come. I took flight. You said, be still. I raced in the Grand Prix of my thoughts. You said, know me. I watched EastEnders instead. You said, hold. I let go your hand. You said, wait. I got on the first bus that came along. You said, trust. I betrayed my soul in a palace of mirrors. When you caressed me for attention, I slapped you down. When you tickled my chin, I punched you away. When you plunged a fist into my heart, I took the hand of fear and ran away. When you shook me, hard and hooked, the pain unmanned me. I sat up and listened, sometimes, then slunk away down the long corridor of shadows. You reeled me in. My mother always said, it will all end in tears. Had I known she had the gift of prophecy, I would have bought her Bibles or the black chocolate she loved. Goddesses deserve worship when their compassionate eyes stroke your soul with the melting honey of love. You said, now come closer. I drew myself upon your knee to await your orders. I asked when, you said now, and I fell asleep again. In the forgetfulness of the Porsche, the rock concert, or simply an overdrawn bank statement, I had been offered the womb of your love. I self-aborted again, but always the hunger, the bowelless pain, the hollow, pitiless tomb, relentless. You have sent me living angels down the years. I pruned their wings and stuffed my duvet with their feathers. Angels, the kind who fasten your seatbelt when you fall drunk in the back of a taxi. Years ago I said, what do you want of me? You said, be my voice. Struck dumb by impossible visions, I ordered another pint. The Lord Shiva slaughtered the slimy frog of my unworthiness. Death is mine, not yours to give, said he. And I remember I could look him straight in the eye for the first time. Spinning in the velocity of my own redemption, there was nothing left to do but fall dizzy at your feet, from apogee to perigee in the flick of a serpent's tongue. In surrender is peace, in trust is service. I ask, what have I learned here? You say, trust. I ask, what do you want of me? You say, wait. I ask, why offer your hand? You say, hold. I ask, where do I begin? You say, know me. I ask, how? You say, be still. I ask, am I worthy enough? You say, come. I ask, why? You say, love. I ask, what lies in this dark? You say, light. I ask, how shall I find you? You say, dream. I ask, how shall I stay with you? You say, pray. I ask, What have I become? You say, awake. I ask, what is this place? You say, home.
In silence you and I talk. In beauty may we walk close together, one step at a time. I'm taking my time with you. I'm walking to the line with you. You lift me up above the crowd. You turn me down when I'm too loud. You turn me upside down and I lose my safe ground. When I don't see the light, you turn me around. In silence you and I talk. In beauty may we walk close together, one step at a time. I'm taking my time with you. Maybe I'm walking to the line with you. For you sing the song I've been hearing on the wind. You fill me up with warmth I could never find. You show me colors, make me feel as if I've lived my life blind. When I don't hear my truth, you turn up the sound of my In silence you and I talk. In beauty may we walk close together, one step at a time. I'm taking my time with you. I'm walking to the line with you. One step at a time. beauty may we walk close together, one step at a time.
And this was just to really give some flavour to the rest of us as to what went on in your groups and how you found them. So, Arnold, would you like to start? Do you want to come up, or can people see you down there?
You can see me here, yes? And can you hear me? Okay. I was in the large group that Craig Brown led, and that group consisted of 49 people, so there was a lot of energy going on, a lot of heart-to-heart communication, a lot of soul-to-soul communication, and some very interesting ideas emerged from it. There was so much, in fact, that people had written down on their flip chart paper that I had to go around, and I didn't know how to summarize all this information. So I tried something out. I hope there are no objections in our group. What we did was look at what Steve was saying about soul communication, soul work, soul friends, soul words. And Craig asked the question, what can we do to create these things? And it seemed to me that what people wrote down fell into three categories. One was activities, the other one was quietness, and the third one was how we interaction. And under activities, people put down things like walking, exercise, drumming, yoga, diet, singing, dancing, swimming with dolphins. Under quietness, people put down reading, reflection, meditation, writing. There were quite a few baths. People wanted to take baths. There were bubble baths and there were baths with candles. And also silence. And interaction, we thought about work and how we can create soul words at work. And one of the things was about sharing things, sharing ideas, using language that showed our appreciation of each other, dealing with conflict, being cooperative with colleagues, and sharing learning. Now, all of these things, the activities, the quietness, and the interaction seem to come together under the big rubric of time. And in the afternoon, after lunch, we talked a lot about time, about losing time, how we find time, how we make time, how we waste time, how we can do the right thing at the right time, taking time out, and being in time. That was our group.
Beautiful wisdom circle that I had the privilege as Masana and Susan to co-facilitate with 20 beautiful people that were in our circle. What came up, we really sought to get to the essence. So the essence for our circle is engendering a warm and safe environment to be free, creative, and honest. Courage to change and play. Nurturing the seeds of possibility. Thank you.
The group that I was in, every member gave so much energy and worked really well together, so thank you to the group. I was told to come up with, myself and my colleague sitting there, Sajda, we both went through all the sheets that everybody had written on, and this is just a very short summing up that we've come up with, and the three were, one was love and acceptance of self, of others, and of situations. The second one was awareness of moment, that is living in the moment and allowing the unfolding. And the third one was believing and trusting in the Creator. So what we said was that everything happens for a reason, and that's fine, and it'll happen in its own time. Thank you.
Well, in our group, we had 21 people who worked incredibly hard. But having said they worked hard, it didn't feel like work. There was lots and lots of energy, good high energy in the room. And we were very much running out of time, and we were very aware of Sarah saying just 3 main points. So we quickly said, right, so what are we going to say? What are our 3 points? And we came with living lightly. That seemed to come through all of the discussions that we had at different times during the day. And alongside of that, be focused in life. And that combination seemed to be really important, the idea that we live lightly and yet we stay focused. Of course, a word that appeared everywhere and that underpins everything is the word love. And alongside of that, count your blessings, really appreciate the life that we have and what's here for us. And how could we forget the words, I am? And so those are our words.
Our group is Butterfly Group. We come up with few points to take home. Learning to say no to others and yes to yourself. Setting boundaries. We are here to learn not to get caught up with others. Understand that you have made the transformation first yourself. Explore new ways to be healthy and happy. Keep loving and loving people to bits. Oh, I just got the mic. Keep loving people to bits. You've got to be... No, next one. Practice expressing laughter and gratitude to prolong your life. I am my identity is within, not outside. You got to love yourself and the rest will follow. That's the last bit. Thank you.
Hello. Our group was very dynamic, very interesting. We worked very hard, but we had lots of fun. And I think we all enjoyed the process. And we tried to be very succinct, actually. We had truth, optimism, and harmony. And we decided that these were the 3 things which summed up our working together this afternoon. We've got lots of stuff on our flip charts. But I'm sure that you'd much really rather hear Daddy. She's got some things to say. And I think I'd like to say thank you to our group. We had such a great time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, thank you all very much. I hope you enjoyed that process. And you've all been very busy, so now it's time to sit back and relax. And I'd like to invite Daddy Janki up onto the stage. Daddy Janki is the president of the Janki Foundation. It takes her name. And as I mentioned earlier today, it was Daddy who said, it's all very well you having a foundation to raise funds for the hospital, but really you must be serving people spiritually. And I think Daddy's very aware, both from her background as being a nurse. She was a nurse for this organisation in its early days in India for many, many years. So she has that understanding of healthcare professionals. And also from the point of view of being a patient, Daddy has had to overcome several quite severe physical illnesses. So deeply embedded in her own experience is an understanding of health from both sides, the practitioner and the patient. So she was really saying to us, these are the tools, these are the skills, these spiritual skills that you need to convey to healthcare professionals, because that's what's needed in the healthcare system today. So I'm going to invite Daddy up on the stage now to share some of her thoughts with us. If you'd like to come up, Daddy. I think most of you might have been here before, but for those of you who haven't, it's Daddy's 90th birthday this year. So she's a real example of an example of practicing what she preaches. And I'd also like to introduce Manda. Sister Manda is doing the translation, but Manda also has a role with helping to run the Oxford Retreat Centre, which if any of you have been there will know it's a lovely place and a beautiful place to go for a retreat. So if you're ever lucky enough to be able to go, I'd certainly advise you to take up that opportunity because it is a special place. So thank you, Manda, for agreeing to come and translate today as well. Daddy, should I kick off?
So the fact that it's my 90th birthday, who is more pleased, me or you or everybody else or God or who?
मैंने कभी बर्थडे मनाया नहीं है ये आप लोग सब कहते हैं उसका बर्थडे है
I've never celebrated a birthday in my life and all of you have now started to talk about my birthday.
अभी खुशी है अच्छा बोलो भी क्या बोलने का
So you tell me what I have to say now.
Well, Daddy, I had lots of questions about why do healthcare professionals get burnt out and what should we do? But after Steve's talk, Steve really took us to talking about being the soul. And he talked about being in the I am. And I thought, well, maybe we should just cut straight to the chase, as they say in the movies. Because I know this is something that Daddy has studied very deeply for many years, about what it means to be a soul. And just before she answers that, one person gave me a question, and it's such a lovely question and so appropriate. I thought I would just read it out. This is from someone in the audience. I am a daughter, a wife, a mother, a secretary, a healer, a housewife. Who am I? How do I find myself?
Okay. किस टाइम भाई ने भाषण किया आत्मा पर वहाँ भी 11:30 बजे इसने कितने बजे किया
What time was Steve's lecture this morning? What time was your lecture this morning? 10 o'clock.
10:15.
11:30 हम वहाँ किया
Because Daddy also spoke about the soul this morning at the retreat center this morning. But that was at 11:30. She was just wondering if the times matched up.
सार में सुनाएंगी 2 शब्दों में
बताया ना उसने
मैं क्या हूँ पर सुना दो
कौन आप नहीं नहीं आप सुनाओ
ट्रांसलेशन अच्छा वहाँ मेरे को कहा तो आत्मा के बगैर कुछ नहीं बोलना यही बोलना मैंने कहा अच्छा यही बोलेंगे
This morning the session that Daddy was doing at the retreat center was for new people who were there, and so the topic that had been given to her was the topic of the soul, and so she's saying I was told that I must only talk about the soul and I mustn't talk about anything else, so this is what I did.
क्योंकि पहला बार यहाँ कौन आए हैं
How many of you are here for the first time today?
अच्छा वहाँ तो सब पहला बार आए थे
In that group that was there today, everybody was there for the first time. It was about 55 people.
तो पर अच्छा बताया होगा पर मैं अंदर से बताती हूँ जैसे ये क्वेश्चन पूछा मैं कौन हूँ तो मैं ये नहीं कहेंगी मैं हाउस वाइफ हूँ फलाना ही हूँ टीरी हूँ अरे मैं कौन हूँ जब मैं कहती हूँ तो अंदर चले जाओ शरीर संबंध दुनिया से मैं न्यारी हूँ मैं कौन हूँ न्यारी हूँ
I'm sure Steve must have spoken of very significant things, but I'll share with you my own experience. When I talk about who I am, I shouldn't think about myself as a housewife or a wife or a daughter or this or that or the other, but the awareness to cultivate is the awareness that this body is separate, or all the things related to the body are outside of me, but I am a living energy inside.
वो सारा दिन रात अगर मैं यही हूँ, मैं ये हूँ, मैं यही हूँ, मैं ये हूँ, तो सारा दिमाग में क्या भर जाता।
If all day and all night I'm thinking about I'm this and I'm that and I'm the other, then you can just imagine the sort of stuff that gets filled inside our heads.
सिर्फ बिल्कुल सहज बात है।
But actually it's a very easy thing.
Simple. भले आप कैसे भी ड्यूटी पर हो, ड्यूटी है, ड्यूटी इज ड्यूटी.
It's a very simple aspect. Whatever it is that you are responsible for, whatever your duties are, they're still duties, just duties.
कोई डॉक्टर है, कोई सर्जन है, कोई इंजीनियर है, कोई भी काम करने वाला है.
Whatever it is that you are doing, whatever work it is that you're doing, a doctor or a surgeon or an engineer, whatever work it might be.
उम्र में छोटा है, बड़ा है, धनवान है, निर्धन है, तो ये तो चलो हिसाब किताब कर्म अनुसार संबंध अनुसार.
Whether someone is a professional or not a professional, or young or old or poor or rich, whatever, well, this is there according to our individual personal situations.
तो अंदर जब मैं कहेंगे अंदर चले जाएंगे.
But whoever it might be, once I say I am, I go inside myself.
मैं अंदर जाओ.
I means to go.
मैं ये कहेंगी तो ऐसे कहेंगे.
If I say I am this or I am that, then I say it with my attitude or my vision outside of myself.
नहीं, मैं शांत.
But I means I am the peaceful one.
मास्टर हूँ.
I am the master.
ये कर्म इंद्रियों के मास्टर हूँ.
I am the master. I am in charge of my senses.
मैं अंदर से मैं मन की भी मालिक हूँ.
I am also the master of my own mind.
मन के बस नहीं हूँ.
I am not under the influence of my own mind.
मैं कर्म इंद्रियों के गुलाम नहीं, इच्छाओं के गुलाम नहीं हूँ.
I am not a slave to my own senses and my own desires.
मैं किसके ममता रख फंसी हुई नहीं हूँ.
I am not someone who is possessive towards someone and am trapped in them because of that.
मैं उड़ता पंछी हूँ, मैं कोई पिंजरे का पंछी नहीं हूँ.
I am a flying bird. I am not a caged bird.
तो ये शार्ट में सुनाया 3 मिनट में.
So this was something that I was sharing with them in Oxford in 3 minutes, the essence I've told you.
कम से कम 30 मिनट आप ये प्रैक्टिस करो पहले.
So actually you need to practice this minimum of 30 minutes.
मैं कौन?
Who am I?
इनसे सेपरेट हो जाओ.
And become separate from everything external.
तो ये आँखें, मुख, कान बिल्कुल अंदर से इतना शांत, अंदर शांति, ये मुस्कुराएगा, चेहरा मुस्कुराएगा.
As your attention becomes internal, then actually there will be the experience of peace inside, but that will be reflected from your face, from your eyes and from your features.
फिर मैं बताती हूँ, जैसे मेरा मैं नर्स होकर के रही ना, तो अभी भी जो है ना, मैं ये जो प्रैक्टिस कहो या स्वाभाविक कहो, समझा, अंदर से शांत, पाठ बजाया, प्ले किया फिर शांत.
Sarah was telling you that I played the role of a nurse for many years, and it's true, whether call it a practice or it's a nature that I have developed, and what I have to do at all times, whatever it is that I need to do, I do it and then go inside and become silent. Do whatever tasks that need to be done, become peaceful inside.
आजकल विश्व भर में मैंने देखा है, अब तो डॉक्टर सर्जन हो पता नहीं, विश्व डिप्रेशन की बीमारी तो मैं समझती हूँ थोड़े का है जो फ्री है, बाकी तो किसी न किसी को कोई न कोई थोड़े % में लगी हुई है.
You're the ones who are doctors and surgeons and all of this, but I have seen all over the world how people, so many people have the sickness of depression, and that means there is the sickness of becoming unhappy and full of sorrow.
दिमाग पर प्रेशर है.
People experience a lot of pressure in their head.
दिल में प्यार नहीं है.
And there is no love in the heart.
तो हार्ट बड़ी कमजोर है.
And because of this, the heart too has become very weak.
जल्दी बेचारी दुख ले लेती है.
And because of this, the heart takes sorrow very quickly.
पर दुख होता है ना पर तो औरों को भी क्या देवे दुख मिल जाता है उनसे.
And then when I experience sorrow myself, then what else can others receive from me? Even if I don't wish, they receive sorrow from me.
तो 3 बातें लाइफ में अंदर सदा ही होवे ना.
3 things should be part of my life at all times.
धीरज होवे.
There should be patience.
शांति होवे.
There should be peace.
प्रेम होवे.
And there should be love.
No problem. No problem. So सोचो भी ना ऐसे धीरज से धीरज से.
When you think also patiently.
धीरज से अंदर श्वास जो है ना जब मेरे को कहते हैं 90 years मैं कहते हैं कैसे मैं 90 मैं तो 19 years की हूँ क्यों कहते हैं ये 90 years
with patience you can and even breathe patiently. You know, you all talk about my 90th birthday and I say to myself, why are they talking about my 90th birthday? I'm 19 years old.
क्योंकि मैं तो 19 years वाला भी है ना थके हुए है सदा ही.
In fact, I'm more stronger than a 19-year-old. Even the 19-year-olds are tired these days.
सदा ही बहुत काम है क्या करें स्कूल का काम कॉलेज का काम ये काम फला.
They always have so much work to do. Work at school, work at college, this work or that work.
हमको कुछ काम है नहीं.
And I don't have anything to do.
फ्री हूँ.
I'm free.
केयर फ्री हूँ केयरलेस नहीं हूँ.
I'm carefree but not careless.
तो केयर अपनी भी करो दूसरों की केयर करो अच्छी बातें शेयर करो किसको इंस्पायर करो तो जैसे पुण्य कर्म का है ना तो खुशी होती है शक्ति मिलती है दुआ मिलती है.
Care for yourself.
शक्ति दुआ.
Care for yourself, care for others, share with others, inspire others. Then you're able to experience, it's like doing this work is like doing charity. And then you're able to experience many blessings from others too. And this will give you a lot of love and a lot of power.
इससे एनर्जी बनती है.
This creates energy inside you. You don't use up the energy that you have.
खर्चा कम कमाई ज़्यादा है.
In fact, you spend less of your own energy and experience a lot more income
टाइम
for
पर किसी
yourself.
को सहयोग दे सकते हैं.
And then you're able to give cooperation to others at the right time.
वो भले दिन हो चाहे रात हो.
Whether it's the day or the night.
वो सब कुछ है थोड़ा भी मिल गया.
When you have everything, you're able to give something.
बाकी थोड़ी बात बताती हूँ.
Just a little more left.
Okay.
तो अपने ऊपर क्या होता है जो काम होता है ड्यूटी होती है ना उसमें फंस जाते हैं ऐसे काम थोड़ा.
See, the thing is, what happens is that whatever work that we have or duty that we have, it's very little, it's very small, but we get trapped in it.
अच्छा उसमें तू मैं तेरा मेरा वो थकाता है.
And the form that trap takes is this consciousness and the awareness of I'm like this or this is mine and you're like that and this is yours, all this kind of attitude.
आज के दिन मैंने किसको इशारा दिया.
Today I gave a signal to someone.
थोड़ा आज का ज़माने का फैशन है जिद करना और अपनी बात को सिद्ध करना.
In fact, it seems to be the fashion of these days, and that is to be stubborn about yourself and about your ideas and to prove yourself to be right.
मैं राइट हूँ. ये गलतफहमी है मेरे लिए.
That if others are saying something about me or whatever, then it's their imagination. They are wrong in saying that.
सीखने की भावना नहीं है किसी मित्रता भाव से प्यार से रहने की बात नहीं.
When that's the situation, then it's as if I don't have the desire to learn from others and I don't have feelings of friendship with everyone.
स्वीकार करना कोई भी अच्छी शिक्षा मिलती है इशारा मिलता है स्वीकार.
If I get a signal from someone, if somebody says something to me about something, then I have to accept that signal with the desire of wanting to learn.
Okay?
Why?
भाई आप कहेंगे शॉर्ट में तो मैं कहेंगे सब पर तो दूँ ना.
So you might say to me, speak briefly, but at least I have to speak clearly.
Yes,
सब पर तो दूँ.
So many themes though, Daddy. I mean, I was thinking, you were talking about how people have no love in their heart. And often, as healthcare professionals, we need to show compassion, but that's the very thing that makes us feel like we're losing the energy, like you said. So how can you give that love and compassion without feeling that it's draining you, that it's taking your energy away?
जब दया कहते हैं ना तो रहम स्नेह सच्चाई तीनों इकट्ठे है ना तो एनर्जी बनती है खर्च नहीं होती है.
When you're talking about compassion, together with that, what you need is mercy, compassion, and truth. All of these three. When you're using compassion with these three, then actually don't use your
रहम
up
स्नेह
your energy.
सच्चाई है इधर.
Mercy, love, and truth. All of these three have to be there.
रहम में सच्चाई है ना तो खर्च नहीं होती है.
When there is mercy with truth, that means the right kind of mercy, then you're not using up your energy.
सिर्फ रहम दिल है पर सच्चाई की स्नेह की शक्ति नहीं है तो खर्च हो जाता है.
If you're simply merciful and you don't have that mercy that is based on truth, and you then give love that is also not accurate, then you use up your energy.
तो सच्चाई के से जिसके पास स्नेह जमा है ना वो ऑटोमेटिक रहम दिल है तो बरी दिल है दया दिल है ना तो दुआ भी मिल जाती है फर्ज से.
You have to have that compassion that is filled with truth or filled with love on the basis of truth. It's the right kind of love. Then you're actually able to share not just compassion but kindness, and your heart is filled with much generosity, and you're able to give blessings to others too.
सुनो निस्वार्थ भाव है ना तो प्रेम में सच्चाई है तो उसका खर्च नहीं होता है कुछ.
Love that is based on truth means that there isn't any selfishness. If my love is selfless, then actually I'm not spending my energy.
अंदर से सच्चाई से भगवान से लेता है और जैसे देने में दाता बन जाता है, देता नहीं है जैसे दाता बन जाता है.
With truth, I have to receive from the Creator, from the Source, so that when it comes to giving, I'm giving with what I have received from that Source, and I'm giving without anything, taking anything.
एक अक्षर कहना पड़ेगा एक्स्ट्रा.
And I'll have to say one more extra word.
मुझे कोई भी कहेगा ना तुम कहाँ साइट सीन देखने चलो मैं नहीं जाएंगी.
When I go different places and they say to me, come for sightseeing, and I never really go.
पर वाटरफॉल्स जरूर देखने जाएंगे.
But I do like waterfalls.
वंडरफुल. इतना ऊपर से पानी आता जाता है पास होता जाता है पत्थर सारे जैसे पिघल करके एंजल जैसे बन जाते हैं अंदर देखते चलो ऊपर से आता है जाता है ऐसे. तो ऐसे अगर हमारे वाटरफॉल्स के तरह से प्यार मिलता रहे और हम ऐसे देखते रहे बड़ा मजा आता है.
I like waterfalls because the water is falling and it creates a stream and it flows away. But where the water is falling, the rocks even melt, and those rocks become so soft and gentle as if they almost look angelic. And so actually we have to do the same. We have to receive love like that love that comes from a fountain, and it just keeps flowing out to everybody else.
मुझे याद नहीं कौन से शहर में मुझे कहा अंदर बोटिंग करेंगे इसमें. बोटिंग उसमें अंदर करूं बड़ी मजे की बोटिंग किया बराबर.
That says I don't remember where it was, but it was some country. They had waterfalls, and around the waterfalls there were caves. And so they said to Daddy, would you like to go boating inside these caves? And Daddy said, yes, that would be very nice. But Daddy said it was very beautiful to go boating there.
Professional हो जावे तो कितना क्या मजा है.
So imagine if we were to become so professionals in this way, in giving love, how beautiful that experience would be.
क्या एक हॉस्पिटल क्या एक डॉक्टर एक पेशेंट्स क्या बजाएगा.
If each of the professions, whether it was doctors or nurses, whoever they were, if they were to become like that, just imagine what a pleasure that would be.
जैसे प्रेम की गंगा बह रही है.
As if it would be as if the Ganges of love is flowing.
Well, Daddy, obviously all of us have experienced that you are giving love all the time. You are like a soul doctor, really, I would say. And people experience that from you. And you say it's because you are experiencing God's love. But I think a lot of us find it difficult to experience God's love in the same way you do. So how does one really experience that love that you're able to give it to others? Because often we feel we're not worthy to experience it. So how do you experience God's love? And then give it to others.
अभी सीधे शब्दों में बोलूं?
So shall I tell you in straightforward words?
मनुष्यों से प्यार लेना और देने के लिए कितना मेहनत करते हैं?
How much effort do people make to receive and to give love to human beings? To receive love from human beings and to give love to human beings. How much effort do they make for that?
हर एक बताए अंदर से देखे मनुष्यों से प्यार के लेना और देना सारी उम्र गंवाइए पर सच्चा प्यार मिला?
Let each one of you ask yourself and go inside yourself. You've probably spent your whole life trying to receive love from another human being or to give another love to human being. Did you get it? Did you receive it?
हर एक के दिलों से पूछो है ना जिनके साथ प्यार था वहीं से धोखा मिला है ना उसका दुख भूलता नहीं है.
Actually ask each one's heart, and they will tell you the person that they were expecting love from, that was the person that they experienced the most deception from. And because of this, there is a lot of pain inside, and that pain they're not able to let go of.
माँ बाप ने जो बच्चों को प्यार दिया वो भी बड़े होकर के माँ रिटर्न में प्यार नहीं देते हैं.
Mother and father give love to their children, and children grow older and they're not able to reciprocate that love in return in the future.
तो मैं बचपन से लेकर सोचती थी मनुष्यों को प्यार करना भूल है. परमात्मा का प्यार करो फिर मनुष्यों से प्यार करेंगे अच्छा प्यार करेंगे.
I used to think that from a very young age actually that to love human beings, and of course she means in a superficial, selfish way, to love human beings is wrong in that way. It's better to take and experience that spiritual love from God, because that is the most empowering.
जन्म से छोटेपन से लेकर के माँ बाप प्यार किया है सदाई किया है परंतु वो प्यार क्या है परमात्मा का प्यार चाहिए.
This is what I wanted from a very young age. Of course, my parents loved me when I was little, but I still felt that I wanted God's love.
तो सबको प्यार दिया होगा रिगार्ड दिया होगा परंतु मैं उनसे मांगूं या भिखारी बनूं मैं काहे को भिखारी बनूं.
I gave love, I think, and gave regard to everyone, but I didn't want to ask for love from others. Why should I have to beg for love from anyone?
तो प्यार का भिखारी बनने से दुख मिलता है.
When we become beggars of love, then we receive sorrow.
अब परमात्मा के प्यार से इतना शक्ति बनो जो दे नहीं रहे हो वो दाता उनको दे रहा है.
But God's love empowers us so much that actually others are able to experience God's love through me, and then it's not even the feeling that I am giving them love, but it's as if they're receiving
तो
from
हर
God.
बात का अंदर इंसान जब विचार करके कंट्रास्ट देखता है ना तो सच्चाई क्या है झूठ क्या है तो झूठ से अपना तलाक हो जाता है उससे पीछे नहीं पड़ता है.
Actually,
सच के ले लेता है.
we have to experience contrasts of different things. When you recognize the contrast between that which is real, that which is true, and that which is false, then it's as if you automatically lose interest in that which is false, and you are drawn to take from that which is true.
उसमें दो बातें सूक्ष्म है.
There are two aspects within this that are very subtle.
मनुष्य आत्माएं सब अच्छी है
All human beings are good.
पर किस पर प्रभावित नहीं होना है किसके नफरत नहीं करनी है.
But what I have to be aware of within that is that I mustn't become impressed by anyone in particular, nor must I have dislike towards anyone.
ये बहुत अच्छा है बस फिदा हो गए उस पर.
Sometimes you see someone, you think they're very good, and that's it, you fall in love with them.
ये खराब है बस सारा दिन उसको खराबी देखते हैं.
And you see someone or you meet someone and you don't like them, this one is bad, and that's it. Their thoughts about them not being good always spinning in your head.
अपन से इनको या मैं बहुत अच्छी हूँ ये ऐसे है.
Or the other things, I'm very good and someone else is not good.
ये अभिमान वाली बातें हैं ना उससे फ्री हो जाओ ना तो परमात्मा देखता है ये आत्मा सच्ची दिल वाले, मेरे को जानने वाली, सच्च को जानने वाली, सच्ची सुख सच्चे सुख से समझदार बनने वाली.
If I become free from this kind of ego about myself, then actually I will be able to experience God's love, because God will see me as the one who has love for truth, the one who wants to do everything that is based on truth, and then I myself will be open to receiving God's love.
तो भगवान के प्यार में सच्चाई चाहिए.
And so in order to experience God's love, I need truth for myself in my life.
बुद्धि बड़ी महीन रिफाइन चाहिए.
My intellect must be very subtle and very deep,
जो शानप से काम लेवे,
so that it works sensibly.
जिसको कहा जाए डिवाइन इनसाइट, डिवाइन विजडम हो.
This is what's known as divine insight
प्यार.
and divine wisdom.
खुद को भी समझा, प्यार लेने के अधिकारी बने.
I too have to understand myself so that I claim the right to experience love.
तो दूसरों को अनुभव हो जाएगा ना, फिर खींच लेगा वो भी.
When others have the experience of this, they too then will be able to draw from that love.
So, Danny, you've mentioned a couple of things. Like earlier, you said you noticed there was a trend for people to hold on to their ideas. And in this, you're saying that we compare ourselves to other people. Why do we do that? What does it mean, this ego? What's it about?
क्योंकि अंदर अपने ऊपर ध्यान नहीं है.
The reason why that comes is because there isn't attention to the self inside.
तीन बातों आजकल जैसे पता है ना, कॉमन है कई बातें.
3 things are very common these days.
या किससे भेंट करेंगे, कंपटीशन में आएंगे.
People compare themselves with others and so compete with others.
या क्रिटिसिज्म करेंगे.
Or there is criticism of others.
या ये क्या होता है, करप्शन, जहाँ से कुछ फायदा मिला ना, करप्शन हुई ना, उस तरफ कुछ जाएंगे.
And the third actually is the idea of corruption, but it's a different, subtle kind of corruption in the sense that we become drawn to someone or something where we receive something from them.
अच्छा दिखावे मात्र.
And it's also a little bit superficial in that to do something for the show of it.
रियल अच्छाई क्या है उसका ध्यान नहीं है. उसका ऐसा पाने का, ऐसा उस सेवा में उसी तरह से ले सेवा करने का वो एम नहीं है, ध्यान नहीं है.
There isn't the attention or the aim to recognize real goodness in something or someone, and the attention to do work with that in the right way.
तो जरा सा भी करेक्शन कोई करेगा ना तो सुन नहीं सकेगा. फौरन सिद्ध करेगा मैं राइट हूँ, तुमको सुनी सुनाई बात पर बोलती हो.
And then if there isn't the desire to correct one's own self, and so if I say something to someone, such a person, then they will always say, well, you're telling me something because you've heard from other people, and so they're trying to prove themselves to be right.
एक दो में ट्रस्ट नहीं है.
And there isn't trust in one another.
जैसे आपका 25 साल से ऊपर कनेक्शन में हो.
You know Daddy for 25 years, more than 25 years.
तो आपका एक दो में ट्रस्ट है ना.
And so because of that, we know each other and we trust each other.
उनसे कितना भी एक दो से सुख भले एक महीने एक बारी मिले, पर प्राप्ति तो है ना.
And there is the experience of sharing from one another, even if we meet only once a month. There is benefit from each other.
अगर आपको अपने प्रोफेशन अनुसार अभिमान होता तो आप कभी नजदीक नहीं आती.
If you had ego about being what you are or according to your profession, you had ego, then actually you would never be able to take anything.
कहेंगे मुझे बहुत मैं जानती हूँ टाइम नहीं है.
You'd say, well, I know so much and I don't have time.
मैं कहूँ आपको पता नहीं मेरा ड्यूटी कैसी है.
If I was to tell you then to come and see me or come, you'd say, well, don't you know how busy I am and how much I have to do?
परंतु आप हमारे प्यार स्वीकार करती हो, टाइम निकालती हो, अपने आप ले लेती हो.
You accept my love, you make time and you come to take yourself.
तो रिजेक्ट करना आसान है, एक्सेप्ट करना मुश्किल है आजकल ज़माने
It's very easy to reject something, but nowadays in today's world, it's very difficult for people to
या
accept
तो फौरन
things.
रिएक्ट करेंगे, रिजेक्ट करेंगे, पर एक्सेप्ट करना स्नेह से बड़ा सुखी बनना.
They either react or reject, but when we learn to accept everything that comes our way, actually there is great pleasure in that.
ये है इंग्लिश वर्ड, मैं इंग्लिश जानती नहीं हूँ पर देखती हूँ.
कौन सा word? React or reject?
रिएक्ट और रिजेक्ट करना.
These English words, I don't know English very well, but these two words I know, react and reject.
एक्सेप्ट करने में थोड़ा टाइम लगाते हैं.
And because of that tendency of reacting and rejecting, it takes time people to accept things.
So, Daddy, getting back to the theme of taking care, do you have any particular tips for how you've taken care of yourself over these last 90 years? Or any advice for healthcare professionals on how you feel they can take care of themselves?
जब केयर शब्द आता है ना, उसकी वैल्यू बहुत है.
In fact, this word care, there's a lot of value in this word.
अपने माइंड के लिए और हेल्थ के लिए, चाहे धन के लिए भी, संबंध में.
Whether it's for our minds or our health or our wealth or even our relationships, we have to take care.
बड़ा केयर रहना चाहिए.
We have to care for all of these.
केयरलेस नहीं होना है.
We must not become careless.
कभी धन भी ऐसे चला जाता है, कभी संबंध में वो प्यार खत्म हो जाता है.
We may lose our wealth. Sometimes we lose love in our relationships.
और यहाँ कभी शरीर अचानक कोरा सिर में या हार्ट में या टांगों में दर्द पड़ जाता है, तो ऐसे हो जाता है.
The body also can become ill at any time. There might be pain anyway. It might be headache or a pain in your arm or a leg.
वो होता है जब धन में संबंध में कुछ अचानक कुछ हो जाता है.
In fact, that happens. The body becomes affected when there is an experience of something that's gone wrong with my wealth or with my relationships.
हम बचपन से लेकर के धन संबंध में ऐसा न कर जाए, अचानक शाक आ जाए हमको.
And from a very young age, I was aware of this, that I shouldn't work with wealth or relationships in such a way that something happens and I become shocked at the outcome of that.
तो मैं वैसे तो मैं कहती प्रोफेशनल में कोई डॉक्टर सर्जन नहीं हूँ.
Actually, professionally, I'm not a doctor or a surgeon or anything.
इतना देखा, एक लड़का था.
But I experienced something.
उसको शाक आया.
There was a boy who had a shock about something.
शाक आया तो पागल हो गया.
And because of that, he became a little bit
crazy. पागल हो गया. वैसे खाने पीने में बड़ा अच्छा.
He lost his mind, but when it came to eating and his lifestyle, he was very good, but he lost his mind.
कपड़ा अच्छा चाहिए, खाना अच्छा चाहिए.
Wanted good clothes and good food.
पर काम करने में बीमार.
But when it came to working, he was unwell.
और सबको तंग करता रहा.
And he caused a lot of distress to others.
तो दिमाग ठीक काम नहीं करता है ना, तो सबको दुख देता है.
When our mind is not working well, then actually we cause sorrow to everyone.
पर मैंने ये सुना प्रैक्टिकल देख भाई उनको भी शाक दो तो दिमाग ठीक हो गया.
Then I heard also that actually they give shocks to people like that, so that their mind can be good again. And Daddy said, I was surprised. I said to them, you mean you have to give them a shock physically to get their mind sorted out? And they said, yes, this is what we do these days.
तब भी मेरे को जब लगा उसको शाक लगा, मुझे पता क्यों शाक लगा ये पता था, पर उसको शाक देंगे हॉस्पिटल में, कहाँ देंगे, तब दिमाग ठीक होगा.
I was amazed to discover that, and I asked them, you mean you give them shock? And they'll say, yes, we will give him a shock and he will be well again.
तो भी क्या ऐसा फिर अच्छी बात उनसे हो जावे ना, दिमाग ठीक हो जाता है.
But actually, the other thing that also works is that if they do something powerful, something significant, then also they can sort their mind out.
तो मनुष्य की दिल दिमाग और दृष्टि तीनों जो है ना बड़ा नाजुक है.
People's minds, people's
दिल
vision,
दिमाग.
people's visions, people's minds, people's head, that is, and the heart. They are very important.
तो मैंने इसकी केयर किया है अपने दिल की, दिमाग की और दृष्टि
And so
की.
I have taken care of all of these three too: my head, my heart, and my vision.
तो दिल में कुछ मेरे लिए कुछ कोई भी खराब फीलिंग ना हो.
And to take care of your heart means never to have any bad feelings in your heart.
और किसको मेरे प्रति है ना उसकी भी कैसे भी करके मैं खलास कर दूँ.
If somebody else has any bad feelings for me in their heart, then I should do something to finish that for them.
भले उसके लिए उसने मेरे लिए बहुत कुछ गलत किया हुआ हो, परंतु उसका भी मैं केयर करके उसको ऐसे नहीं उसको छोड़ दूँ, नहीं वो भी चेंज हो जाए.
Even if somebody's done a lot of not so good things with me, but I still should be able to respond to them in such a way that I finish all of their bad feelings for me.
उनका दोष नहीं है, बेचारे का ऐसा स्वभाव है या कुछ ऐसा है तो उस पर तरस खाना है.
They're not to be blamed. It's their nature, it's their tendency. I should have mercy for them too.
तो इसमें रहम सच्चा वो है, ऐसे को भी चेंज करें जो मेरे लिए बिल्कुल गलत करने वाला उसको भी अच्छा करने का दिल से भावना से मदद करे.
Real mercy actually is that no matter what, even if somebody's done something bad, something negative for me, towards me, then I should change my feelings towards them to such an extent that their feelings change.
जैसे आप लोग दवाइयों के लिए रिसर्च करते हो ना, बड़े जब जिसका अच्छा अनुभव होता है तो पहले तो औरों पर करते हो या अपने ऊपर करना होता है.
Nowadays, all of you do lots of research on drugs and things, don't you? And you do those on other people. You don't do them on yourself first. But here, this kind of work, you have to experiment on your own self first.
हम अपने ऊपर करते हैं.
I experiment with everything on my own self first.
जो नई नई बातें अंदर से निकलती अपने ऊपर करती है, फिर औरों को उस पर औरों को पीछे पहले अपन पर करते हैं.
When all of these new ideas and new ways come up, then I first of all work with my own self. I try them on my own self first, and then I tell other people about
ये
them.
सफलता पा करके आप लोगों के सामने जो शिकल दिखा सकती हूँ ना, अपने दिल, दिमाग और दृष्टि को ठीक रखा है.
It's because I've attained success in this way. I've kept my head, my heart, and my vision well, that I'm able to today sit in front of you with
दिल
my
सच्ची
face.
है, बहादुर है,
My
बड़ी
heart
दिल
is
है.
honest, it's brave, and it's big, it's generous.
बहादुर है.
It's a brave heart.
कभी किससे डरती नहीं है.
I'm not afraid of anyone.
पर ऐसे नहीं मैं तो डरती नहीं हूँ. अच्छा.
But that doesn't mean that I'm not afraid. I mean, I speak in that forceful manner. Well, I'm not afraid of anyone.
नहीं.
Not that.
और दिमाग ऐसा हो जो कभी नहीं कभी बुढ़ी हो गई, अब इसका दिमाग ठीक काम नहीं करता.
And my head should be such that nobody turns around and says, she's old now, her head doesn't work properly.
भगवान हमेशा कहते, मैं भगवान को कहती थी, भगवान मेरा कुछ भी हो जाए, मेरी बुद्धि सदा अच्छी रहे.
I always used to say to God from a very young age, God, whatever might happen, but my intellect should always work well.
भले सारा शरीर काम न करे, पर मेरा दिमाग अच्छा काम करे.
Even if my whole body doesn't work properly, I want my intellect, my head should always work well.
और दृष्टि मेरी इतनी अच्छी होवे, सबके साथ रहम प्यार से मैं देखूं तो सही.
My vision should always be such that I'm able to see everyone with love and mercy.
भले इनकी भाषा नहीं बोल सकूं, पर भावना तो समझे ना.
I may not be able to speak their language, but they should understand the feelings of my heart.
तो इंग्लैंड में आई तो मैंने कहा इंग्लिश तो जानती नहीं हूँ, क्या करेंगे.
When I came to England, I said, well, I don't speak English, what am I going to do here?
तो मेरे को मैसेज मिला ऊपर का, जाकर एटमॉस्फेयर अच्छा बनाएंगी और कुछ नहीं करना.
So then I received a message from our headquarters in India. I was told, all you have to do is just go and create an atmosphere, nothing else.
वो पीस लव जनरसिटी है तो वातावरण अच्छा बन जाता है.
When you have peace, love and generosity, then the atmosphere is good in that place. It's easy.
सब अच्छा ना, easy है ना.
It's easy, isn't it?
सब
You
कर
understand?
सकते हैं, सब कर सकते हैं.
You can all do it, right? She's telling you can all do it. You're not asking.
सदाई सुनो, मैंने ये भी अंदर से प्रैक्टिस किया है, आपको गुप्त बताती हूँ.
I'll tell you a secret. I have practiced something.
आप लोग भी बहुत मेहनत करके फिर काम करते हो ना.
All of you work so hard and then do your work, don't you?
मैंने मुस्कुराने की प्रैक्टिस बहुत की है.
I have practiced to smile a lot.
कैसा भी शरीर होगा, कैसे भी सर्कमस्टेंस होंगे, और आईने में मुस्कुराती रहूं. टूथब्रश भी नहीं कर सकती थी, अंगुली से ऐसे मुस्कुरा के ऐसे ऐसे कर लिया. फिर मेडिटेशन बैठ गई. अच्छा हो क्या?
No matter what the body might be like, what the circumstances might be like, but I always maintain a smile. Sometimes I couldn't get out of bed and brush my teeth, but I would go and stand in front of the mirror and try and brush my teeth with a smile. Look in the mirror and smile at my own self and try and brush my teeth.
आज की बात सुनाती हूँ.
I'll tell you something from today, in fact.
कल मैं वर्दी में गई थी.
Last night, Daddy was at a place we have in Worthing.
जाती हूँ.
It's a new place that's getting ready, and so Daddy said, I thought I should go there.
ये भी किया.
Went for a little walk on the seafront.
पर थोड़ा सा मेरे हार्ट में, पाँव में, सिर में पेन हुआ.
And there was a little bit of pain in my heart and in my arm and in my
कल की
head.
बात है.
This is yesterday.
मैंने किसको बताया नहीं.
I didn't tell anybody about it.
मैंने इनको काम मैं रात को वहाँ चलती हूँ. आपको मैं रात को यहाँ रहेंगी.
We were in Worthing and she was meant to stay there last night, but she said to me, I want to go to Oxford now.
पर रात को बड़े प्यार से ऐसे ऐसे रेस्ट किया.
So last night we came back to Oxford and she said we came back about 11.
4 बजे meditation
And
में
she said I rested well because she wanted to be able to be up for meditation at 4 o'clock in the morning.
फिर क्लास बुक को करा. फिर मैंने कहा तो रेस्ट करती हूँ, फिर शाम को मुझे यहाँ जाना है.
So she did that, 4 o'clock meditation. Then we also have our second get together at 6 o'clock, 6:30.
नहीं यहाँ दर्द है, नहीं
And
यहाँ
so
दर्द
she
है.
took class at 7:15 till 8 o'clock. Then she said I rested a little bit, and here I am now, and now I'm completely okay. No pain in my head, no pain in my arm, no pain in my heart.
तो अपने आप को संभालने का अक्ल चाहिए ना.
So you need sense to look after yourself, don't you?
अगर मैं चिंता, अरे मेरे पेन हुआ है, अरे क्या करूँ, डॉक्टर को बुलाओ, अरे करूँ तो सारा हाय वाला हो जाएगा.
If I was to worry about it and think, oh my God, I've got pain in my heart and in my arm and in my hand, call the doctor, why has it come again? It's come again after so many years.
चलो आया है बेटा, तो शांत से मुस्कुराओ ना.
Okay, so it's come and it'll go again. All you have to do is smile peacefully.
अच्छा आधा घंटा वहाँ मेडिटेशन कर लिया ना, 5:15 बजे.
So we had very good meditation in Worthing for half an hour.
Okay.
And everything was
शाम
fine.
को फिरस्ता का टॉपिक मिली.
And then even after that pain, there was a talk that he was giving in Brighton, in fact, and the topic was how to be an angel. And so there was a program for an hour and a half there, so she attended that too.
ये है
Gave a talk there.
अपनी केयरलेस नहीं होना, केयर करना अच्छी तरह से.
And so to care for the self, but not to be careless.
अंदर से खुशी की शक्ति है ना.
It's because there is the power of happiness from within.
पर उसमें परमात्मा भी दुआ देता है, सबकी दुआएं है ना.
And then God also gives blessings within that, and you receive blessings from others too.
समझा? Easy है.
It's easy.
नहीं तो ये बताना नहीं था मेरे को.
Actually, I didn't really want to tell you that.
No, that's a bit scary, Daddy.
ये practical चाहिए सब कुछ.
But this is a practical experience, and you need practical things, don't you?
Well, we're very glad, Daddy, that your pain didn't get worse. And you're here to share with us today. I'm going to invite...
Of course it's not going to increase.
No. I'm going to invite Steve, Daddy, now to join us. If he has some things he would like to also ask you or to discuss, to join in the discussion. Should I say Stephen? I think while you're gathering your thoughts, Stephen, one other thing I had also to ask Daddy was I think this it would be nice if you could describe in more detail really how you become soul conscious and then how you experience God's love, so people who haven't done that have a clearer understanding of it.
तो पहले ये बात करेंगे, पहले ये बताऊं.
Should Daddy say that first, or Steve would
Do you want to hear
share
that
something
first, or
first.
have you got something?
Daddy first.
Yeah.
Things will come.
Yeah.
आप पहले सुनाओ.
डिटेल में सुनाने की ज़रूरत नहीं है.
Actually, it's not necessary to say too much in detail.
ये तो बड़ी बात नहीं है, परंतु ध्यान देने वाली बात है.
It's not a big thing, but it is something to give attention to.
जिस बात की जिसको लगन होती है ना, उनके पास उनको ये वो बात समझना और करना आसान है.
Actually, when someone has an interest and love to do something, then it's easy for that person to understand that aspect and practice it.
मनुष्य आत्मा की नेचर है, जहाँ इंटरेस्ट होता है ना, वहाँ उसकी बुद्धि खींचती है.
It's actually the nature of human beings that when they have interest in something, their intellect automatically becomes drawn in that direction.
फिर वो बहाना नहीं देंगे, अवॉइड नहीं करेंगे.
Then they won't make excuses and they won't avoid that.
तो ये आत्मापन को समझना, परमात्मा से प्यार खींचना सिंपल बात है.
Actually, to consider yourself to be a soul and to draw love from God is a very simple thing.
तो क्योंकि मैंने देखा है, जब तुम ऑस्ट्रेलिया से निकली हो, पहला ऑस्ट्रेलिया में हमारा प्रोग्राम लगता समथिंग मिसिंग.
I've experienced this, I've seen this. You've come from Australia, and I remember this topic being taken up in Australia many years ago, and that was something missing.
केन ने रखा था प्रोग्राम, बड़ा प्रोग्राम अच्छा.
It was a big program that Ken had organized.
बहुत लोगों ने बहुत बातें सुनाई.
Many people shared their ideas.
But something missing है.
But still, there was this scenario created that something is missing.
धार्मिक बातें भी है, दुनिया की बातें भी है, पर missing है.
There is so much in our world these days, religion and lots of other aspects, but yet the feeling is that something is missing.
जिस करी आत्मा का पूरा परिचय मिलता है ना, मैं क्या हूँ, तो सारा लगता है यही बात मेरे से मिस थी सारी.
When we receive the understanding of the soul, what the soul exactly is, then there is the feeling, in fact, that actually this is what was missing in my life.
मैं आत्मा हूँ, ये नहीं समझाता तो अहंकार और अभिमान का घेराव था.
I hadn't understood that I was a soul, and because of the lack of that understanding, it was as if I was surrounded by ego and arrogance.
बस अहंकार है, मैं अरे मैं हूँ कौन?
There is generally the ego of the self. I am something, but what am I?
अंदर जाले जाते हैं ना, तो मैं आत्मा मन बुद्धि संस्कार.
When I go inside myself, when I take myself inside, then I understand the essence of the I, the faculties of the I. I am the mind. An aspect of me is the mind. It is the intellect, the rational part, as well as the emotional part. And then there is the personality traits that I have created as a result of my actions and interactions with others.
मैं जब आत्मा कहा तो मन मेरा काम भागता है, बुद्धि कुछ क्या एकाग्र नहीं हो सकती.
When I think of myself as a soul, I ask about my mind. Where is my mind? That is, where are my thoughts? And the intellect, is my intellect completely stable and still?
बुद्धि को सीधा ठीक कर सकते हैं, एकाग्र हो जा.
It is possible for me to allow or teach my intellect to become concentrated and stable.
आत्मा जो शक्ति body conscious में खत्म हो गई ना, वो समझा गई.
When we became aware, or when we thought that we were bodies, then we forgot that we were spiritual beings, souls, and therefore the power that is in the soul is lost.
आत्मा में पुराने संस्कार है ना, वो खींचते हैं ना, वो भी शांत हो जाते, शुद्ध हो जाते.
When I become aware of myself as a soul, as a spiritual energy, then the old past experiences and the tendencies that I had gathered together, accumulated inside of me, then actually those too become silent and peaceful, because I'm able to emerge my original nature of peace.
अंदर अपने को जानने से पता चलता है मैं असुर क्या हूँ.
When I go inside myself and recognize what I am, then I'm able to
तो
understand.
शुद्ध शांत हो जाते हैं.
Then I become pure and peaceful.
Wonderful है.
It's a wonderful experience.
फिर रखो परमात्मा ये कितनी समझ टाइम अनुसार भगवान ने मुझे समझ दी है.
Then there is the question of God, the Supreme, and I am able to have an appreciation for God for giving me the understanding of myself as a spiritual being.
ओ गॉड अल्लाह ईश्वर करके कहते वो तो मेरा है, वो तो एक ही है, सो मेरा.
Then the feeling that the one that we've been calling out to as God or Ishwar or Prabhu or Allah in all the different religions, actually that one belongs to me.
जो अंगली ऊपर जाती वो पता नहीं कहाँ है, कैसा है.
Previously I didn't know where God is and what God looks like or what he's like.
तो आत्मा यहाँ से शरीर के भानों से निकली, मालिक बनी.
When I have the awareness of myself as a soul, a spiritual being, my consciousness becomes separate from the body, and therefore I become the master of my own self, first of all.
Body consciousness में बहुत भारी थी.
With the consciousness of the body, identifying with the body, I become very heavy and burdened. I become free from that, and I become light.
Light हुई तो ऊपर से might खींचने लगी.
When I become light, then I'm able to take might from above.
हम यहाँ से light हुई, वो might हुई तो कितनी wonderful आत्मा में शक्ति आ रही है.
When I become light here and I receive might from up above, then the soul becomes filled with power.
फिर तो बड़ी बात नहीं, जो भगवान के गुण है वो धारण करने की शक्ति आई, मेरे जो गुणों कमियां चली गई.
Then it's not a big thing actually, the power and the virtues that God has. It's possible for me to develop those powers and those virtues, and then that was missing comes back again.
अच्छी तरह से गहराई से समझ करके पूरा अनुभव करके अच्छी तरह से अनुभव में बढ़ता जाए बीच में छोड़े नहीं.
And so I have to continue this practice, keep practicing, and I must not leave the practice halfway.
इसमें रिटायर नहीं होंगे.
There's no question of retiring from this practice.
नहीं, प्रैक्टिस करते जब तक आत्मा शरीर में है ना, ऐसी करे जो प्रैक्टिस साथ काम में आएंगी शरीर.
In fact, this is the practice that continues whilst the soul remains in this body, and only then that practice is going to be useful to me eventually.
Good day. That's what I wanted. Very clear. Very good.
More clear.
Perhaps I could embellish a few things that Daddy has said, and then I have a question to put towards her. Maybe we could discuss together. The first was an appreciation of something she said before we came into the room about how you can reach the age of 90 and you're still learning. And there is something about soul work that we can fall into an ego trap, is that the trap of the ego is that there's an end to it. We can get there. We can reach that point. But how I experience it is an endless and infinite unfolding. The ego is finite. The personhood is finite. The soul is infinite. And hence the possibilities of the soul are infinite. That frightens the ego spitless. It likes certainty, fixity, absolutes. And moving from dominance of the one to the other is tough work. That tough work, to reach that point of the I am, of am I the housewife, the secretary? No, to get to the point of the I am. There are no shortcuts, I'm afraid. Very few of us have St. Paul's Road to Damascus experience and get zapped, and suddenly everything is clear and life is never the same again. For most of us, it's patient, slow commitment. Patience, persistence, perseverance. It's not meant to be easy, but thereby it is also paradoxically joyful. Now, Dadi said something else about her appreciation of waterfalls. And I often think we appreciate those things that are mirrored in ourselves. And being with this lovely young girl, She is an example of how when someone becomes more and more egoless, just by their presence, they can influence us. In an holistic universe, it is not possible for one person's shift not to affect another's. One person's enlightenment affects everybody around us. If I ground this in my clinical experience, every one of you who's worked on wards or clinics or offices or social work departments will know what a joy it is to be around somebody who is even relatively calm and serene and at one with themselves. And any one of you who's visited a hospital ward or similar recently can often know, even before you get through the doors, exactly who's in charge and what they're like. And if they're fraught and off-centre and all over the place, you can be pretty damn sure everybody else is as well. So we are drawn to that. We feel it. The way others around us are is mirrored in ourselves. Look at that sign there. Take care. When we say to somebody, take care, it's usually about be cautious, look after yourself, be easy with yourself. I would add a more assertive meaning to it, which means take it. Take it. Go out and seek it. Find the people and the teachings, like Daddy, who you can hang around with. And begin to pick it up with and around them. Find the groups, your soul communities, the practices that initiate it. Taking care is not a passive, it isn't just a passive, it is an active process. It is a combination of allowing yourself to be cared for and actively seeking it. And within that take care, I'm mindful of, over the oracle at Delphi, it says, know thyself. To that person who is asking, how do I know me? Know thyself. In the Bible, the answers to how to do that is very clear. And I think it's in the Old Testament, there is a line that says, be still and know me. Be still physically, be still in your mind, be still in your heart. Have in place those things when you begin to hear that inner voice. Have in place those things that offer checks and balances. Not everything you hear is a revelation. The dividing line between revelation and illusion and delusion is very thin. So having your soul friends and your soul communities can provide the protection from going astray. It's about also being gentle on yourself, knowing when to pull back and have a rest and go back to Oxford when you need to, if you see that metaphorically. I can think of so many times when I've been sat at the feet of great teachers, and on one particular occasion with an Indian woman called Mother Meera in Germany. And I would go there for a week and I would sit at her feet and I would meditate all day long and walk in the forest, and I would come back through Frankfurt and Manchester and I was in a state of bliss and I loved everybody and everything was so beautiful and I could see the translucent eternal divinity of the universe. And I get in my car out of the car park and somebody cuts me up in the X6, I want to kill them. And so it's so easy to slip across and to forget, even momentarily. So our practices are there. Pull you back, pull you back, pull you back. And I couldn't help but laugh when Daddy was talking about knowing God. Some 10 years or so ago, before I became egoless, I got into a spat with God one day in my meditations, and I can't remember where it came from, but it was something about, are you masculine or are you feminine? I want to know. I want an answer. So I went and sat out in the field at the side of my house in my favourite meditation spot. And I sat down late in the evening. It was a full moon and quite cold, but I said to God, I want an answer. Are you a man or a woman? Are you male? Are you female? Are you an it? And I'm going to do a Buddha. I am not moving until I have an answer. There are one or two in the audience who know my stubborn nature when I get stuck into something. So I sat there, and a voice came to me and just said, call me what you want. I can be a he or a she. I can be anything or nothing as you wish me to be. Doesn't matter. I can be a duck if you want me to be. And at that point, from the ditch behind me, whack, 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 flying overhead was a duck. And ever since then, friends and the house is full of symbols of ducks all over the place. People keep bringing things, and I've never eaten duck since. The one has many faces, all faces. In the Quran it says, wherever I turn, I see the face of God. So I wanted to ask Daddy, out there, the ordinary world we're going to return to from this wonderful heartfelt space here, there is much suffering. In our services, there is much suffering. People struggle in their work. Carers don't often take care for themselves. But as a result of that suffering, people get provoked into the deeper search for soul, for God. So there is a paradox for me. If all that suffering is serving to bring people home, why should we change it?
क्वेश्चन है अच्छा मुझे अच्छा मुझे आपका अनुभव सुन करके अच्छा लगा बहुत.
I enjoyed hearing your experience a lot.
तो परमात्मा के पीछे पड़े हो तो कौन है कैसा
So you're
है?
also chasing after God. Who are you? What are you?
तो तुमको अच्छा लगता है तो परमात्मा के जितने तुम अंत में जाते हो वो तुमको परमात्मा के अंत में जो शांति और प्यार मिलता है तो तुम्हारा जी जरूर चाहेंगे मैं औरों के सफरिंग छूट जाए बेचारा.
When you go into the depth of God, I'm sure that you're able to experience love and peace deeply inside your own self, and therefore then you have the feeling that you want to share that love and peace with others.
तो कारण यही है क्यों सफ़र कर रहे हैं जो करते पाप एक है सफ़र बहुत करते हैं.
हम खत्म करने का क्यों सोचे, सफरिंग खत्म करने का क्यों सोचे.
पर यही कहती हूँ ना कर क्यों रहे हैं सफ़र ये कारण का हमको पता है ना.
And so we understand why it is that people suffer.
क्यों मनुष्य बहुत दुखी है इसलिए सफ़र कर रहे हैं.
People are suffering because there's a lot of unhappiness in their life.
कोई किसकी परवाह नहीं करते इसलिए दुख होता है ना.
People feel unhappiness because nobody cares for anybody.
तो हम रहम दिल सच्ची दिल होने के कारण उनको अच्छा सपोर्ट देवे सहारा देवे साथ देवे.
Because of our true heart and our merciful heart, we want to give them support and want to give them companionship.
किसको डूबती हुई नैया को थोड़ा सहारा देना पुण्य का काम है ना.
If a boat is sinking, to give support to a sinking boat is an act of charity, isn't it?
तो हम सारा दिन क्या करेंगे समझो हम तो खुश है भगवान के साथ.
We're happy that we're with God.
तो हमारी खुशी और है जो औरों को खुशी का वृत्ति वाइब्रेशन से मदद मिले.
But there's even more happiness when others receive help through our attitude and our vibrations.
तो उनको अंदर से हमारे लिए कोई है.
So that they have the feeling that there is someone for them. There is someone that cares for them.
पहले भी हम आजकल तो डॉक्टर सर्जन की अलग बात है. आगे पुराने ज़माने में कहते थे ये सर्जन या डॉक्टर मेरे लिए भगवान है मुझे बीमारी से छुड़ाया.
Perhaps it's not so much like that anymore, but in the old days it was definitely for doctors and surgeons. People had a lot of respect and they say, well, this person has really saved me.
मेरे लिए तो यही भगवान ने
That for me, this person is like God.
ऐसे हम कहाँ पर भी पहुँच जाएं कहेंगे भगवान ने तुमको मेरे पास भेजा.
And so we could reach anywhere, and whoever it is that we go in front of, they should have the feeling that God has sent us to them.
तो मेरे से कोई पूछते तुम ट्रैवलिंग क्यों करती हो?
Sometimes people ask me, why do I travel so much?
मेरे को अनुभव ये है जहाँ भी पहुँच जाएंगे ना कई आत्माओं को ज़रूरत है वहाँ मिल जाता है.
My experience is that wherever it is that I end up, so many souls come and they receive whatever it is that they need at that moment in
बिना कोई
time.
प्लान के बिना कोई प्रोग्राम के अचानक पहुँचना होता है.
Sometimes I arrive somewhere without a plan, without a program.
अंदर से है दूर से भी कोई हजारों माइल दूर है तो भी वाइब्रेशन खींच सकते हैं.
But I have this feeling inside that even if someone is thousands of miles away, then it's possible for me to give them something.
लोग सच्चाई के खोज में है और सच सामने आ जाता है तो बस अभी समझा सच ये है. है अभी है.
People are searching for truth, but when truth comes in front of them, that's when they're able to recognize that truth does exist, and they say, yes, it does exist.
समझो 2 दिन से तुम यहाँ हो, तुम अपनी जो अंदर से प्रैक्टिस की है परमा तो लगेगा ना जैसे मैं अपने स्थान पर जो मुझे चाहता था ना अर्जन प्राप्ति वो उस स्थान पर पहुंचा हूँ.
Since you yourself has also done work on your own self, you've been here for 2 days now, and you feel a sense of something here, that also that there is something of benefit for you.
क्योंकि जैसे को वैसा स्थान मिल जाता है ऐसे हम जिन फ्रेंड्स मिल जाते हैं ना बड़ी खुशी होती है.
As you said, when you find those who are like yourself, when you meet those who are your equals, then and you find a place that you can identify with, then you feel that you've received something.
कोई देशों में मैं गई होंगी पासपोर्ट दे करके अंदर वीज़ा आने नहीं देंगे. वीज़ा भी आने तो क्यों आई हो यहाँ क्यों आई हो? अपनी फैमिली फ्रेंड्स तुम्हारी फैमिली फ्रेंड्स यहाँ है क्या? मैंने कहा हाँ है हमारे.
Sometimes when I'm traveling, they stop me at immigration, and even though I have visas for these places, they ask me, why are you coming into the country? And I have to tell them I'm coming to meet my friends and family. And then they say, you have friends and family here? And I say, yes, I do have friends and family here.
मेक्सिको में अचानक अर्थक्वेक हुआ था ज़बरदस्त.
When the major earthquake happened many years ago in Mexico, 20 odd years ago, I went there suddenly at that time.
मेरे को माउंट आबू से इशारा है तुम जाओ वहाँ.
In fact, I was sent a message from Mount Abu, our headquarters, that you should go there.
Miami airport से जाने नहीं देते थे.
And they weren't letting me go from the Miami airport.
कहते नहीं जा सकते वहाँ बीमारी फैली हुई है.
They said to me that you shouldn't travel to Mexico City because of the earthquake. There's a lot of illness spreading there. And I said, no matter what, I have to go.
तो मेक्सिको के एयरपोर्ट पर सारा सुन बयाबन लगा पड़ा था.
And the Mexico airport was completely deserted.
उतरी हूँ.
And I've just
जो
landed.
मुझे लेने के लिए आया अरे उन्होंने समझा ये कैसे पहुंची हमारे पास.
And those people who had come to receive me, and they were absolutely amazed. How was it that I managed to get to them?
क्यों नहीं मदद करेंगे?
Of course, why should we not help
मदद नहीं
others?
उनको जरूरत है हमारी.
They need at that time. They need us.
हमारा जीना किस पर्पस के लिए है?
What is the purpose of our living then?
सीधा ही भगवान कहता है मैं तुमको मदद करता हूँ तुमको मेरा मददगार बनना है दुनिया के लिए.
God says straight off that I'm helping you because you have to become my helper to help the world.
वैसे मदद करो.
You have to help the world.
ये फर्ज कहता है हमारा.
This is your duty.
सारी विश्व में कोई भी आत्मा का दुख दूर हो जाए ना सुख शांति मिल जाए ना.
Any soul anywhere in the world should experience that their sorrow is received, sorrow is removed, and they receive happiness.
कोई भी देश है इंडिया है चाहे इंग्लैंड है चाहे अमेरिका है कई हॉस्पिटल्स में हम जान गई होंगी पेशेंट को पूछ के फिर वो ठीक हो जाए ना.
I've been to see patients in different hospitals, India, England, America, all the places, just to ask them how they are.
हाजिरी भी कई पेशेंट्स को खुशी हो जाती है ना.
Sometimes just being there with them, the patients become very happy.
तो हम एवर रेडी है ना से.
So we have to be ever ready.
एवर रेडी रहना, लाइट रहना, अंदर से और कुछ नहीं, ये तो करना ही है ना मेरा.
We have to remain ever ready. We have to remain light, because what else is there to do?
एक हमारे में कहावत, दुखियों का दुख दूर करने वाले तेरा दुख दूर करेगा राम.
There's a saying that we have in India: the one who removes the sorrow of others, God removes their sorrow.
ले लो दुआएं माँ बाप की.
And so take the blessings of God, the mother and
सबका
father.
दुख दूर करो.
Remove sorrow of everybody
दिल से
else,
करो.
and do it with love from your heart.
I'm thinking that
मैं सोच रहा हूँ कि
until sorry, give me a second, please.
I think also this will have to be the last question,
Okay.
because people will need to catch trains and things.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm just thinking that about this point of relieving suffering, that while in a creation in which all is connected to all that is, while one person suffers, then at some level so do I. And so perhaps by helping others to be free of their suffering, my soul is liberated too.
yes, it's true. One receives strength, one receives power.
सुनो मैं एक हॉस्पिटल में गई थी.
I'll tell you something. I went to a hospital.
डॉक्टर ने समझा इसको एक सप्ताह रहना चाहिए.
किसको?
एक वीक तुमको रहना चाहिए.
आपके लिए?
हाँ हाँ.
Oh, that means for herself. The doctor had wanted her to be admitted in hospital for 1 week.
मैंने एक दिन में ठीक हो गई.
And I put myself right in 1 day.
तो कहा नहीं मैंने कहा दुख की दवा, दर्द की दवा आपके पास है, दुख की दवा आपके पास नहीं है, वो तो मेरे पास है ना.
Daddy said to the doctor, well, I'm well now. And he said, no. And so Daddy said to him, but okay, you might have medication for pain, but you don't have medication for suffering, for sorrow.
अभी तक वो डॉक्टर नर्सेस हंसते हैं मेरे ऊपर.
The same doctor and the nurses that were there at that time still laugh at me.
किसको दुख होता है उसकी दवा आपके पास है नहीं ना.
I said to them, well, you don't have medication for the sorrow of people.
तो सफ़र क्यों, मैं सफ़र कर रही हूँ, माना क्यों, सफ़र बात ही नहीं है ना.
Why should I suffer? I shouldn't allow myself to suffer.
आजकल मेडिसिन भी अच्छी मिल जाती है, ठीक हो जाती है.
Nowadays you can get good medications that you can put you right.
तो ज़्यादा तो meditation फ़ायदा करता है, पर निमित्त मेडिसिन है.
In fact, it's meditation that helps more than medication. You have to take medication too, but greater help comes from meditation.
Okay? अच्छा, meditation करेंगे ना.
Now we're going to do some meditation. Yes, Daddy.
क्या कहती है?
अभी meditation करें.
Excuse me. So Manda now will lead us in a commentary of a meditation that will reflect some of those ideas.
Om. I am. Shanti. Peace. I go inside myself and focus my attention at the center of the forehead, because this is the seat for the soul. This is the seat of consciousness. This is the seat of my thoughts, and therefore all my feelings. I, the soul, thinking, living, conscient energy, am the essence of peace. Peace is my religion, is my way of life. Peace means to experience a state of total harmony and be at one with myself. This is the work of I, the soul. To move away from all external situations and circumstances and to become internaler. As I internalize all my thoughts and all my energy, I'm able to see the world around me as if it's a play. I separate myself from everything outside, and the second I do that, I enter a space of light, a space of peace, a reservoir of peace that exists right inside me. In fact, this is the true self. I can feel the energy inside me. But it is this energy that creates the vibrations and the atmosphere around me too. In fact, everything comes from this place within me.